In this edition of the news, the Mo Ibrahim Foundation says democracy is fast deteriorating in Africa. Its November report highlights increasing rights violations. And despite efforts by security and defense forces in the Republic of Cameroon, insecurity continues staring at Cameroonians right in their faces. We'll talk about this problem today. Stay with us. The Mo Ibrahim Foundation Index has shown that good governance is fast deteriorating across the African continent. In its November report, it highlights increasing violation of human rights in different African countries. Details with Fomi Armstrong-Sanda. Fomi Armstrong-Sanda with that report on the deteriorating situation of human rights in the Republic of Cameroon and other African countries, highlighted by the Mo Ibrahim Foundation in its November report, indicating that good governance is deteriorating, fast deteriorating in African countries. His report.
Published on Monday, November 16, 2020, the Mo Ibrahim Foundation Index revealed that progress in governance in Africa is slowing. The index, which has revised by improving and supplementing its indicators, highlights a disturbing slowdown in progress over the past 5 years across the African continent. The unfortunate slowdown, according to the index, distorts a trend of improvement made by the continent from 2010 to 2020, and which affected about 61.2% of the African population. Worryingly, the index notes that the average score in 2019 for Africa registered a decline for the first time since 2010, while it had progressed or stagnated until then. The period covered ends at the end of 2019, just before Africa is hit by the pandemic linked to the coronavirus. However, the report underlines that the continent was and is fast deteriorating in terms of rights, space for civil society, and participation. This dark picture in rights and civil society participation is even worsened by the coming of the coronavirus pandemic, according to the report. The report further laments that the hard-won economic opportunities, which were on a positive trajectory of constant progress, is now threatened by the COVID-19 pandemic. The index noted that well-placed African countries like Mauritania ranked on the first position, Botswana on the fifth position, and South Africa on the sixth position, all followed a path that has been deteriorating since 2015.
And the African Development Bank has pledged to assist CEMAC member states accelerate economic diversification, strengthen governance, and facilitate the structural transformation in the respective African countries or sub-regional African countries. And this was during the CEMAC roundtable that held in Paris, France, November 16 to 17. Details in this report by Innocent Azi.
The roundtable that opened November 16th and wrapped up November 17th in Paris, France, aimed at raising funds for bilateral and multilateral, traditional and emerging public and private partners in order to cover the financing needs of 11 regional integration projects worth 3.4 billion euros. These projects integrate transport infrastructure and energy in 6 member countries to be carried out between 20 2021 and 2025 in the sub-region. Their total cost amounts to 4,072 billion euros, of which 596,074 million euros, that is 14.65%, have already been raised, therefore amounting the financing gap to 3.4 billion euros, that is 85.35%. According to the president of the CEMAC Commission, Daniel Ona Ondo, these projects for which they are seeking funding are parts of the Community Recovery Plan, and in this regard reinforce CEMAC's economic and financial reform program. This is because the private sector seems to them the most appropriate channel for an optimal allocation of resources, and moreover in the face of debt constraints which require them to devote themselves to the sustainability of public finances and debt. He adds that most of the projects presented at the round table are predestined for public-private partnership, for which they have clear examples of success in such a method of financing infrastructure in the sub-region. Congolese Prime Minister Clement Mwamba, representing Congolese President, dedicated president of the CEMAC Economic and Financial Reform Program, stressed that they are particularly looking for loans on concessional terms or a mix of loans and grants, and the private financing for the viability of certain projects in public-private partnership mode. At the end of the roundtable, they hope for an exceptional mobilization of the various partners around all the major integrative projects that will be presented by the ministers. The African Development Bank has already provided support for carrying out the studies necessary for the maturation of many projects included in the Consensual Transport Master Plan in Central Africa. Over the 2015-2019 period, the bank mobilized 1.13 billion euros, that is 768 billion francs CFA, for transport sector projects in Central Africa. About 30% of this funding was devoted mainly to the development and renovation of road corridors between member countries.
An expert say the coronavirus pandemic has dealt a significant blow on economies of Africa and other continents, African countries and other countries of the world. And countries in Africa have continued battling with the coronavirus while struggling to maintain economic progress. And coming up, Immaculate Fogwe gives us updates on the coronavirus fight in Africa.
Experts warn that Africa would likely witness a slight resurgence of COVID-19 cases in the coming months. The number of cases has been rising lately, with countries like Morocco, Tunisia, Kenya, Cape Verde, Nigeria, and Botswana taking the lead. Meantime, Senegal has joined in the race of finding an effective COVID-19 vaccine that can fight against the coronavirus. Senegal's Minister of Health recently announced that the vaccine will be launched in the days ahead. They say they are not going to allow any type of vaccine to get into their country. The Senegalese government affirms that they have taken all the necessary scientific measures in collaboration with the World Health Organization. Senegal joins Morocco and Egypt in the race of finding a vaccine. As Kenya witnesses a surge in COVID-19 cases, healthcare workers have vowed that in 21 days they will down their tools following an increase of deaths among their colleagues. The doctors are accusing the government of neglecting them. They also complain of poor working conditions with lack of personal protective equipment used to protect health workers from contracting COVID-19.
Out of the African continent, Italy is asking overseas doctors to fly in to help fight coronavirus. Health authorities in the country have realized that they have enough ventilators to cope with the second coronavirus wave, but not enough medics to operate them. That's Euronews.
Together with the already existing issue of increasing intensive care unit capacity, the real challenge is finding enough specialists who can operate breathing machines. With a total of 5,000 extra doctors needed as a result of the pandemic, Italy's long-term problem of a lack of medical staff has got worse.
The problem we're facing is that only specialists can work inside intensive care units. That includes both specialized doctors and nurses. Figures are not encouraging though. We need 2,000 doctors who can operate breathing machines. That's because there are not enough trained doctors.
Since the beginning of the outbreak, the government has planned to increase the number of ICU beds from the existing 5,200 with the aim to reach a total of around 11,000.
This would mean adding more beds where there are already a lack of medical staff, which means lowering the level of safety and quality of these treatments.
Hiring trainee doctors who have not yet finished their studies has proved to be one solution. In regions in the north of the country, such as Piedmont and Lombardy, local authorities have even turned to NGOs for help, asking them to send doctors from around the world. Dr. Fouad Aoudi is the president of the Association of Foreign Doctors Living in Italy. The group represents a total of 77,500 professionals, including nurses. A full citizenship would normally be required in order to be hired, although given the emergency, a recent decree has allowed their applications. However, only a few of them have been taken on this way.
Some regional authorities give their political interpretation of the legislation. Others call us directly to provide contacts of foreign doctors without minding too much whether or not they have full citizenship.
Regions in Italy can make their own decisions when it comes to public health. The association has made an appeal to the government demanding that the legislation is applied in the same way nationwide. Accounting for only 8% of the country's GDP, Italy's overall investment in the health sector is below the average of other European countries, such as Germany and France, a long-standing issue that is now hindering the fight against COVID-19. Giorgia Orlandi for Euronews in Rome.
In the United States, President-elect Joe Biden warns that more people may die if the transition is not coordinated. The impact of the coronavirus pandemic is going to increase. He has urged Donald Trump to ease the transition. Euronews.
With more than 11 million confirmed cases, the US has the highest number of infections in the world, and the virus shows no signs of slowing down. But instead of focusing on the pandemic, President Donald Trump is preoccupied with alleged voter fraud. At a press conference, Joe Biden was asked what will happen if Trump continues to obstruct a transition of power.
More people may die if we don't coordinate. How do we get over 300 million Americans vaccinated? What's the game plan? It's a huge, huge, huge undertaking. If we have to wait until January 20th to start that planning, it puts us behind over a month, month and a half. And so it's important that it be done, that there be coordination now.
Earlier, Biden and his Vice President-elect Kamala Harris held a virtual meeting with business leaders to establish their plans to protect the economy during the pandemic.
Corporate America agreed on this today. The folks on the call. We need support to support small businesses and entrepreneurs that are the backbone of our communities, but are teetering on the edge. And we all agreed on the urgent need for funding for states and localities to keep frontline workers and essential workers on the job.
President Trump continues to keep a low profile, but tweeted his reaction to the latest vaccine news. Meanwhile, across the US, COVID-19 restrictions are being ramped up ahead of Thanksgiving. Businesses are being closed, travel discouraged, and people are being implored to stay at home to help stem the rising tide of infections that has threatened to overwhelm the healthcare system. Robin Owens, Euronews.
Now, back home, insecurity remains a major problem in Cameroon, from the big cities to the hinterlands. Despite all the efforts of security and defense forces, insecurity is still staring at Cameroonians right in their faces, so to speak, in areas like Douala, the country's economic capital, and other parts of the country. In Buda, in the west region, individuals, citizens are attacked in the day and in the night by men of the suspected men of the underworld, and some of them were recently arrested in Buda and in Douala by security and defense forces. Smanjikan Gabriel reports.
Insecurity is steadily gaining grounds in Buda, west region of Cameroon. It's been a week since several homes were attacked at the Kamer neighborhood, having some persons with severe injuries. A victim tells us,
dès que nous sommes arrivés à l'entrée de la maison, il y avait des gars très armés.
Immediately we arrived at the entrance of our residence, we met some armed men. Then they kept us on gunpoint, gave me wounds, and took away everything I had on me.
Les masqués ont donc pris tous les enfants, et avec l'arme, avec les armes.
After investigations led by Commander Abui, 7 of the alleged bandits have been arrested alongside cannabis, machetes, and hammers. During the presentation of these alleged bandits, the divisional officer of Mbuda begged the population to continue collaborating with the forces of law and order.
I call on the population once more to continue collaborating with the forces of law and order. They should give us maximum collaboration for us to help extract these bad elements in the society so that they can live their life and carry on their activities, their daily activities, without any problem.
All 7 alleged bandits are ex-convicts. In Douala, a 21-year-old boy by name Lubuli Louis Paul was also presented to the press by security officials. According to the head of the anti-gang unit at the Judicial Police Station in Bonanjo, Police Officer Harry Arnaud Nsama, Louis Paul was arrested because he breaks into people's car stationed around Ndokoti Court of First Instance. Whenever he takes away an item from the car, he calls for the owner and demand for ransom. Louis Paul's last act before he was caught was still at the same venue where he took away a gun belonging to a police officer and sold for 25,000 francs CFA. After investigation, he was picked up by security officials. He will be transferred to court in the days ahead.
Statistics show that small and medium-sized enterprises make up over 80% of the productive capacity of Cameroon's economy. In most of the world's economies, they are regarded as vectors of job and wealth creation. Paradoxically, small and medium-sized enterprises in Cameroon, as it is the case in most developing countries, are facing a plethora of challenges. Responding to a survey, more than 100 small and medium-sized enterprise owners and managers said the survival and growth of their enterprises is hindered by significant obstacles, including poor organization, difficulties of access to resources and financing, and unfriendly stakeholder behaviors. This is why the European Investment Bank is stepping in to fill the financial rift between small and medium-sized enterprises and financial institutions like banks and others. It is the purpose of the 10 billion francs CFA loan scheme agreement signed with a local bank today here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. And for greater details on that, take a listen to Cameroon's Minister of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, Social Economy and Handicraft, Achille Basilikeng Troa, and the head of the European Union or the European Investment Bank Central Africa, Nikolaos Milianitis. Take a listen.
Future of our SMEs, we will continue advocating with the financial and technical partners, the various difficulties of our SMEs and our micro SMEs, and we believe that through a better empowerment of our SMEs, it will be possible to have Cameroon reaching the destination of becoming an emerging country by 2035.
EIB, in the various ways we operate, we provide financing to banks or to microfinance institutions, the purpose being that everybody can have access to the financing of EIB. And of course, the banks, our clients, our partners, are the ones who will operate on the ground. They are familiar with their clients, and they will be able to accordingly provide on lend the money to their end beneficiaries, to the clients. What we do is we help the access to credit to the smaller businesses by having a longer maturity for the loan we extend to the, in this case, to Société Générale. So in their turn, they can also extend as long as they can a credit to clients like yourself. The decision for the credit is left up to the bank. So we do not interfere in either the pricing or the conditions or any other regulatory requirements that a company like yours would be required to have in order to get the benefit of the credit.
And with regards to what is required to benefit from the 10 billion Trans-CFA loan scheme, the head of the European Investment Bank in Central Africa said much has been done to facilitate access to this financing. Take a listen.
Investments in the private sector are supplemented through private equity firms that the EIB invests in. These firms invest or lend in turn to local businesses. There are about 15 Cameroonian businesses benefiting from 17 billion Cfa currently, and they operate in agribusiness, information technology, health, consumer sector, and microfinance. We should be signing in the coming months operations in both the private and the public sector. The requirements have been enlarged. We have relaxed a lot the usual requirements in order for an SME to benefit from the financing. There is a possibility of technical assistance that will be put in place in due course, which also means that the promoters of SMEs like yourself will be able to improve your daily managing of the affairs, how to submit a better credit request to a bank, how to be a better corporate citizen, and how to best plan in a strategic way for your business in the sector where you are operating.
And that's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Thank you for staying with us in Talking Points. Today we are receiving a young entrepreneur. Ngala Boris Nze is the Chief Executive Officer of Boris Bison Public Limited Company. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, Mr. Babila Jonathan. Thank you, televiewers. Stay tuned on Economics.
A young entrepreneur running a company you've established, and you're running a company that deals in the areas of import and export, real estate contracts and supply, and agriculture. It's quite huge there. How did you get to this?
I would say it's a step-by-step process, actually. We believe in a step-by-step process. First of all, I would say why? Because it's not about me here. Boris Bison is not about me, it's about my team out there. It's about those that have been standing by me, though it started with me, because it's kind of like it's been my personal decision that I had to take, and I was disciplined about it, and I was determined to make it, and people are now coming together as a team to make it happen. So it has been a long way, a step-by-step process that we had to take from the trenches, and we are climbing up to the mountain top.
Where did you start?
I started in Dubai. It's by the way, before starting in Dubai, I've always been a business-oriented person, like pushful once it comes to business, because that's been like my passion. I discovered my passion has been business and communication, like in sales. So once I discovered that, I was working with an Australian brand company back then in Dubai, and I happened to meet some people, and I share my ideas with them, and some will, say, yes, wow, that's a brilliant idea, and some will bang the door. But I'm grateful for those that accepted my ideas, encouraged me to move on. And from there, I found it necessary for me to do something on my own. So I resigned from the company I was working with, and I started this vision for Boris Bison. So it's been a long way, actually. It's really been a long way.
That sounds quite easy, but many young people in Cameroon today who want to take the same step, or who are struggling to take the same steps like you, are finding it quite difficult. We were talking a while ago in a report about small and medium-sized enterprises that are still facing this major problem of difficult access to financing, despite all the efforts of the government, the Ministry of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, and other technical and financial partners. This problem is still there, and it's quite difficult for many to start and then run, to survive, to grow. Quite difficult.
You're right, Mr. Babila Jonathan. And looking at things the way they are, I would first of all say, when it comes to business is not about pleasure. Business is not pleasurable. Business is not it's not fun. It's not fun. It's more of pressure. So the more pressure you can take, the more money you can make, I would say. The more pressure you can take, the more money you can make. So I would say,
a little more on that. The more pressure
you can take, the more money you can make. That is what it is. That is business. Business is not pressure. It's not pleasure. It's not fun at all. Being a businessman, being an entrepreneur, it's not fun. So you have to take pressure. It means you must come to that point where in your life you first of all sit down to assess your life. It start with a passion, I would say. Discover your passion. What's your passion in business? Are you maybe looking forward to be selling and buying, or maybe just doing one or two things that you can? First of all, when you find your passion, when you find what moves you, that's when you can say you've started. That's when the starting point is. You find your passion, then you can go for it.
So
when
let me get it clearly.
Yes.
You don't just get up in the morning and then you have maybe 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100, and then you jump into Mokolo market, you jump into the Douala Central market, you start buying shoes and going to sell, you start buying clothes and going out there to sell and things like that. You need to, first of all, examine it.
That's right.
What you want to do, what you really love to do, or what you can, it's moving you, as you said.
That's right. There are 3 D's in business. Each and every businessman out there will bear witness on what I'm about to say right now. There are 3 D's in business, and the first D, I would say, is your decision. Your decision starts with you taking an assessment of your life. What do I want? There must be a day in your life that you sit down to decide what you want for yourself, for your life, and for others as well, because this business is not just about me. If it was about me, I would not be going that much far. If it's about me alone, I will not want to run all of these things that I'm doing right now. It's about impacting the community. It's about enforcing a change that must be. So it's about changing the narratives that people have about maybe Dubai, or people who go to Dubai. You know, there are people who have a lot of nasty story about those who go to Dubai, those who are in Dubai, and all of that.
Certainly comes to that in a short
so the first thing I would say is your decision. That's the starting point. And when you take a decision, you must be able to be disciplined, because at the beginning of the year, we are almost at the end of the year, so many people will make New Year resolutions, but it never binds, it never stands, because they are not disciplined. So business is about taking a decision and moving on with it by disciplining yourself to say, if you have been working for a particular, okay, for me, let me share my personal story with you. Actually, I was working like 8 hours for an Australian brand company, and when I resigned, I realized that owning a company is being a CEO is not a plaything. I had to work 16 hours at times. I'm telling you, more than like from 2 a.m. from 10 a.m. I work from 10 a.m. to like 3 a.m. I have people that can bear witness that this is what I had to do. So it took me discipline to sit down on the same spot to say, yes, I am ready to go. I'm ready to take up this business to another level. And it takes, apart from discipline, when you're disciplined, there's a peak at which you get and you feel like, oh, you are totally exhausted. Now this determination comes in, that whatever happens, I am determined. I must make this happen. It is about me here. I must make this happen because of my team, because of my community, because of my family. I have to make it happen by whatever it will take. So discipline, your decision moves on to discipline, it moves on to determination, and all of these things are intertwined together so they can work. When you have all of these three things in your life and in your business life as an entrepreneur, you cannot fail. So you have to just keep up the courage and be positive and keep away, negativity, because there's a lot of negative energy out there that will tell you, it's not possible, it's not possible. Maybe because they cannot do it, so they will discourage you. You don't have to key into that. So determination will help you, that even when people who started with you fall out with you, you will still continue with it because you are passionate about what you're doing.
Determination.
Yes.
Determination. So you talked about 4 Ds.
Yes.
Decision, discipline, determination. The last
3 Ds, yeah.
The last one. 3 Ds.
Yes.
Okay. 3 Ds. That's quite interesting there. Decision, determination, and there is discipline.
Yes.
All of these put together.
They're intertwined.
Now, let's look at it this way. You can be very, very disciplined. You can have that determination, and you take the decision. But nothing can move without money.
Okay, you're right.
Let's get that point, so that we can be able to have a holistic view of the whole thing. Because one major problem is money to start, money to begin.
You're right. You're right. Let's dwell on that. Let's dwell on that point.
Can you start without money?
Yes. Yes. There's so many people that started without money. There's so many, and they are successful. I've read about them. I mean, I don't want to start quoting examples, but let me tell you this, Mr. Babila Jonathan. The first net worth of a businessman is not 20 million, because if you pick 20 million francs CFA and put in the hands of someone who has not taken a decision, who is not disciplined, who is not determined, that 20 million within 2 months, I bet you 2 months, you'll be shocked, you'll be surprised. Maybe he has mismanaged it already. So now what I'm saying is, when someone from day one takes that decision and is disciplined enough and is determined to say, come what may, I will make it, the money will come. The money will come. And I'm talking to someone out there. I don't know who you are. Maybe you're struggling. You don't have capital. I want to tell you, if you have taken a decision to do something, just start wherever you are. I'm not saying you should resign from your job and become a CEO or start a company. No. Start where you are. You might be working. Start saving money. Start doing something. Even if you cannot get a job, think about something to do. Be a problem solver. That is what entrepreneurs are. Entrepreneurs are not just, people who are looking for opportunities. No, they are looking for problems. They want to solve a problem. If you can be a problem solver out there, there is no way you will be poor. Look for a problem and bring a solution. Look at the solution. Look at the bigger picture. Bring a solution.
Do not only be searching for opportunities.
Yes.
Create opportunities.
That is what I'm saying.
But how to create the opportunities is another issue.
It's about your mindset. You know, people want to succeed, but it's very unfortunate that so many people have the bad mentality, I would say. They don't have the right mind. So how do you succeed without having the right mind? It is quite impossible to succeed without the right mind. So now, if you have to succeed, you have to first of all start by, you know, reshuffling your mind. You have to start by we would say deleting some things from your mind, changing your mindset to thinking positive, because we grew for so many of us Africans, precisely Cameroonians, we grew from backgrounds where they tell you are good for nothing, you will never make it, it's not possible for you. So because of that programming, because of that system that you have already in your mind, that makes you feel like you know, inferiority complex, that makes you feel like you cannot make it, you are so limited. So now, how do you succeed? How do you start something and succeed? You must change your mind. You have to reshuffle your mind. You have to change something, delete some things from your mind.
And just a little digression before we go forward. You're talking about the impact of the statements that parents make to their children,
yes,
that guardians make to their children, and so on. You cannot make it, you're dull, you're stupid, you're foolish, good for nothing, and so on. This could be very, very disastrous from what you're seeing,
yes,
even in the nearest future.
Yes, it could be very, very disastrous, but it could be very, very advantageous at the same time. You know what?
From the angle,
yes, it could be very, very disastrous, and it could be very, very advantageous, I would say, because what people say about you does not matter. What people say about you does not matter. It is how you see yourself in the mirror. It is who you see yourself. When you stand in the mirror, who do you see? There are moments that I stand in the mirror and I'm talking to myself as if I'm not normal. Yes, of course. Like, Boris, you have to make this happen. Boris, you have to make it happen. I speak to myself deliberately at times. I do that oftenly, and that gives me courage. That gives me energy. I do that because I'm determined to succeed, and whatever it takes, I've put my hands on the plow to succeed because of my generation, because of my community, because of my background, and I'm bent to change the narratives. So for you to be able to change the narrative, you must take negativity to be like nothing to you, like an opportunity. Take negativity to be an opportunity to you, I would say. Take negativity to be an opportunity. Meaning, if somebody tells you you cannot succeed, oh, be happy because they are actually saying the opposite of who you are. And that means you have to succeed. Take it as a challenge and work on it to say, if you have said I will not succeed, some people say you never build a house. Make sure you build a mansion. If they say you never own a business, make sure you own a supermarket. If they say so, but it has to start somewhere. It has to start in the mind. Each and every building you are seeing in Douala City today, in the world, anywhere else in the world, in Dubai, all these magnificent buildings, all these towers, they started somewhere. It started in the mind of one individual, somehow, somewhere. So you have to start thinking positively. You have to start thinking positively, feeding yourself with positive information. And also, like I said, where you ask a question like, if you have some 10,000 francs or maybe money, you can just bump into the street or you just start something. No, what you have to do is, after taking a decision to do something, I would plead with you to take some time out to do research about what you want to do. Research. Do you know one thing I notice about the white men? When they leave the US, when they leave the UK and they come to Africa, they never ask you the road to your village. You know why? They have done research. You know why? They have researched. They have researched each and every quarter, each and every road. But us, we don't do that. And it's not proper. Research, you have to research. You have to know what you're doing. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you're actually doing nothing. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be obsessed with it. You have to get to a point where if they wake you up in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning, and they're asking you a question about your business, you can say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you move on to Z.
All right, we are running out of our time, but I wanted to insist on something there, which you mentioned earlier. problem-solving mentality. The problem-solving mentality. Going out there to look for trouble. Most often we are looking for solutions.
Yeah, the problem-solving mentality. What I notice out there also that I will mention is so many people like to do copy work. They like to imitate others. And if you want to fail, I said it in one of my videos, I will say it right here. If you want to fail, try to imitate successful people. When you imitate successful people, you will not see the pain they have been through. You will not see the decisions they had to make. You will not see the 16 hours of work. You will not see even the 18 hours of work. You will not see the calls they made, the disappointment, all the disadvantages they went through. You will not see it. You will not see it. You'll see the Porsche cars, you'll see the amazing edifices, the mansions, the nice suits, the nice this, the nice that. But if you really want to fail, imitate successful people. But if you want to succeed, start by being yourself. Realize that you have to do something before something can happen. You have to create something. You have to change your mind and create something. And remember, last time we said, if you don't do what you know will do you. You have to start somewhere and start where you are. Don't look far. Start where you are. I will bring in one thing, Mr. Babila Jonathan, that will have to relate to almost each and every viewer out there. It happened to me, and I believe it happened to someone out there too. There are moments that I have a key or a pen in my hand, and I'm looking for it the whole house. At times, even parents are tempted to start accusing their children. Where is my pen? Where is my key? You know what? They are looking for the solution that is in their hand right there. That is the mentality so many people have, looking for solution far away while they have it right there with them. Start with you. The solution is with you. It's inside.
In some few seconds, we are wrapping up. How is it doing business in Dubai? Is it easy to start? Is it what is required to be able to do business in Dubai and maybe elsewhere around the world? You started there and then you brought it back home.
I would say it's quite very not easy, like I would say, because business is not an easy thing. But Dubai is quite an amazing environment to groom yourself, to grow yourself, and to adapt yourself to certain lifestyle that gives you the opportunity to succeed. So due to its security, you know, it's amazing. The people you meet, I mean, it's quite an amazing environment. And to start a business in Dubai, it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. You just need to follow some legal procedures that grant you your license, and you are able to meet people. You're able to meet people. There are people out there. I mean, I would advise even those that are in Dubai that are doing, you know, menial job here and there. I would want to say something. Maybe if you permit me, I want to say something. Please. You might be doing dishwashing in a restaurant. You might be working, whatever job you're working right now. What the advice I have for you is, don't limit yourself within that scope. Don't limit yourself within that scope.
Don't stay in your comfort zone.
Yes, it goes to even the granite seller out there. It goes to even the banana seller out there. Be selling banana, keep to it. Be selling granules, keep to it. Be doing your dishwashing, keep to it. Be doing a waiter, waitress job, keep to it. But don't limit your mindset within that scope of selling banana. Try to think big. Try to bring something out that sounds insane at times. But try that and try to take some practical steps. Try to put in some actions, and trust me, God will always send people your way that will surprise you. That will be like, I mean, when you get to where you're going to, you'll be like, wow. And people will be inspired by you. That's the word I have for those watching out there. Whosoever you are, start from where you are and make something happen.
Ngala Boris Z, CEO of Boris Bison Public Limited Company. Entrepreneur, thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. It's my great pleasure. Thank you very much, Mr. Babila. Thank you, televiewers who are out there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That will be it for today.
Oh my God.